So we're in February, which means that we're still pretty much at the start of the year. And the start of the year can bring lots of positive emotions. A chance to start fresh, refocus our goals, and plan exciting things to look forward to. But a new year can also be an overwhelming time, with lots of reflection. Maybe we didn't achieve what we wanted to last year. Maybe you're like me and feel like you wasted a lot of time in 2023. And it's easy to think that there's not a lot to look forward to, with summer feeling like it's years away. And depending on what part of the world you live in, your new year might be welcomed by cold and miserable weather and long dark nights, all of which can result in a crippling case of seasonal depression. But guys, spring is springing, I can feel it. So to keep you going, I've created a list of feel-good movies that might help cure your seasonal depression, or at least make you forget about it for 2-ish hours. I have some brain off, no thinking, just good vibes options for you, but equally I have some deeper films that might make you shed a tear or two, but will ultimately leave you feeling all warm and fluffy inside. Starting with The Way, Way Back. It is a comedy directed by Jim Rash and Nat Faxton that follows Duncan, a shy and awkward teenager who is forced to spend the summer at his mum's boyfriend's beach house. Out of boredom and isolation, he finds himself getting a job at the local water park and forming an unlikely friendship with the owner, Owen. It is a charming and funny story of a boy coming into his own. The cast is truly stacked. We've got Toni Collette, Steve Carell, and Alison Janney and Sam Rockwell are truly hilarious. There's also something about a coming-of-age film that I find weirdly comforting now that I have mostly come of age. So if this is something that you can relate to, or you're just missing summer and the warm weather, this should scratch that itch. Little Miss Sunshine is one of my top 4 in Letterboxd, so you know I mean business with this one. It is a comedy directed by Valerie Faris and Jonathan Dayton, and it follows a dysfunctional family who agreed to help make their young daughter's dreams come true by collectively driving her across the country to compete in a beauty pageant. I could make a whole video about why I love this film, but ultimately I love the way it makes me feel. To me, this film is therapy, and I literally fall back in love with life after I watch it. It is laugh out loud funny, the characters are so lovable, and it manages to make light out of dark themes in a way that feels completely natural. Plus, it has one of those endings that leaves you beaming from ear to ear. It is also quite similar to The Way, Way Back, but mainly because it has Toni Collette, my queen, and Steve Carell, my king. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, as the title suggests, follows Marcel, who is a shell that lives in an Airbnb with his grandmother, Connie. When Dean, a filmmaker, comes to stay at the Airbnb, he discovers Marcel and Connie and aids them in their search for their long-lost family who disappeared when the previous tenants moved out. It is a comedy live action with animation incorporated, directed by Dean Fleischerkamp. I showed this movie to my parents the other day and my mum, for some reason, couldn't wrap her head around why he was wearing shoes. I was like, he's literally a talking shell, what do you mean? But if this is something that you could get past, unlike my mum, then you will love this film. Cute is the main word I would use to describe it, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, it is just so damn cute and heartwarming, and a very relaxing watch. To me, watching this movie feels like stepping outside for the first time in a long time and taking in that first breath of fresh air. So if you're too unmotivated to go outside, maybe watch this instead and it might inspire you. Side note, I think that any animation film is a great option to watch when you're feeling down. Some of my other favourites are Soul, Ratatouille and Brother Bear. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It is a fantasy adventure comedy directed by Ben Stiller. Walter Mitty is an avid daydreamer who lives a rather mundane existence. When his job is threatened, he is given the final push he needs to live out his daydreams and go on the adventure of a lifetime. This is for anyone who has started the year feeling like they're stuck in a rut. This film has some stunning visuals and it's incredibly uplifting and inspiring. I remember the first time I watched this, I was on a school trip and I was like, okay, wow, so I need to go to Iceland and the Himalayas immediately. People take the mick out of this film for being slightly cheesy, but I'm here to say, what's wrong with cheesy? Especially when you're feeling down. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium is a fantasy comedy directed by Zach Helm, and it follows Mr. Megorium, who is a magically eccentric old man who owns a magical and eccentric old toy shop. When the shop starts to behave strangely, he decides to enlist his musical employee to take over, despite her objection. Let's stop pretending that we don't like this film. Yes, it is a very 2007 film in many ways, but it's completely cheerful and wonderfully goofy and silly. If you're finding adult life very overwhelming, this can offer you a childlike escape that could generally help you reprioritize what's important. I love Natalie Portman in this, and it genuinely may be my favourite Dustin Hoffman performance. Okay, maybe The Graduate and then this. I unironically listen to the score all the time, and without giving away spoilers, there is a major theme in this film that is something a lot of people find very very scary and overwhelming to comprehend, but I think this film handles it beautifully. Overall, I think the world would be a better place if we all decided to watch this collectively. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. More of a recent option for you, and another coming-of-age film directed by Kelly Fremon Craig. Based on the classic novel of the same name, 11-year-old Margaret is forced to uproot her life when her parents decide to move from New York to New Jersey. She must navigate being the new girl and girlhood in general, while simultaneously questioning her own faith. Released last year, this film is definitely in my top 5 favourites of 2023. This movie feels like giving your 11-year-old self a warm hug. It is so endearing. Abby Ryder-Fortson is incredible as Margaret. Her performance is so lovable, and she is really great at capturing the inevitable awkwardness that comes with being 11. I feel like this is a movie that the world needed, and I'm so glad that it was able to get made amongst all of the superhero franchise films. This film is a ray of sunshine. It is so heartwarming in every sense, and it gave me a newfound appreciation for girlhood. The First Wives Club, a comedy directed by Hugh Wilson, it follows 3 old friends who are reunited at the funeral of their former classmate. Upon reuniting, they realise that they all share something in common. Their husbands are leaving them for younger women. Fueled by their newfound sisterhood, they set out to take revenge on their unfaithful husbands. I am a sucker for a quote-unquote middle-aged woman film. There's something I find very comforting about them, and this film is the creme de la creme. It is just such a fun watch, so therapeutic, with hilarious performances from the icons Bette Midler, Goldie Hawn and Diane Keaton. If you're feeling down because of a sad excuse of a man, then this would be a great movie to watch and remind yourself that you don't need them. And if you need another reason to watch it, you can look forward to seeing 3 icons belting "You Don't Own Me." What more could you want? Mrs. Doubtfire. This is a classic 90s comedy directed by Chris Columbus. When Daniel, a recently divorced voice actor, is denied custody and given minimal visitation rights for his kids, he must disguise himself as a Scottish nanny named Mrs. Doubtfire in order to see them. 2 words: Robin Williams. About Time is another one of my Letterboxd top 4, and honestly, probably my favourite film of all time, if I'm being honest. This video is definitely exposing the fact that I am a comfort watcher. A comedy fantasy drama directed by Richard Curtis. On his 21st birthday, Awkward Tim is told a life-altering secret by his dad that all the men in the family can time travel. Overwhelmed with this powerful gift, he decides to focus his time-travelling ability on advancing his love life and getting the girl of his dreams, Mary. Again, I could make an hour-long video on everything I love about this film, but this is truly, and I mean this wholeheartedly, a life-altering movie. It will give you a greater appreciation for life in general, and as a self-proclaimed rom-com connoisseur, it ticks all of my requirements for a great one. It is hilarious, but it is Richard Curtis, so what do you expect? The film looks beautiful, it makes me want to run away to Cornwall. Warning, it is a tearjerker. I cry every time I watch it without fail, but I would say that it's a good cry if that makes sense. It is ultimately a movie that just makes me love life, and I feel like whatever I say won't do it justice, so you're just gonna have to trust me on this one and give it a watch. You won't regret it. Cool Runnings. When a Jamaican sprinter set for greatness fails at the final qualifier for the Olympic Games, he refuses to give up on his Olympic dream and instead sets his sight to a different sport, bobsledding. Enlisting 3 of his friends and a disgraced former coach, the underdog team must prove that they are worthy to compete in the Olympic Games. This comedy is directed by John Turteltaub. This is a childhood classic for me, one that me and my sisters would watch all of the time. It stars the wonderful John Candy, who is definitely a comfort actor for me, as he just never fails to make me laugh. The film is feel-good entertainment at its finest and has so much heart. I feel like most people have already watched it, therefore you probably already know that it's great, so what are you waiting for? Go and give it a cheeky rewatch. If you don't fancy any of these films, this is your sign to go and rewatch that film that you love and have already watched multiple times, and just be kind to yourself. And I would love to know what your go-to comfort film is in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more reviews and recommendations. And keep your eye out for my Oscar Best Picture ranking video, which is coming soon.